in the live streaming. Yep.
Yep, all set, Chair.
So when we are.
Might be on the live stream.
Can't hear you now. Mario.
Yep, we're live streaming. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, can I welcome everybody to the Cabinet Procurement and Insourcing Committee? Are there apologies for absence? I don't think so. Apologies from Councillor Cogan for lateness. Notice of intention to conduct meeting in private if we need to. I won't rule that out. So, apart from the example, we might need to come to yes, some questions on exempt papers as well. Sorry, but are there declarations of interest? Yeah, additional ones. No, not noticed. No item for urgent businesses, no deputations. So if we can move to item 7, commissioning framework, homes built after children and carers. So if I could ask, I think Maria to present the report. Well, welcome to the meeting.
Thank you very
Good to see you.
You
want to introduce yourself to the meeting as well?
Sure, my name is Maria Zazowska. I am the Strategic Resource Manager in Children and Families. So this report outlines a really exciting opportunity, I think, for us to join with a number of other East London local authorities to access a dynamic purchasing system, which is referred to as the DPS throughout the document, for the provision of independent fostering agencies. And this DPS is actually hosted by London Borough of Newham. The DPS dates are from now until the 8th of March 2026, and we'll have the option to extend for another 4 years. So a bit of background about why we need this is previously London Borough of Hackney relied on a very loose framework that wasn't actually procurement compliant called London Care Placements. We made all of our independent fostering arrangements through that provision. That shut down and ceased to operate with very little notice earlier last year. And with the cost of living crisis and how we saw how high inflation was last year, all of those arrangements we had with those fostering agencies became purely spot purchase arrangements. So we were getting increases or requests for increases upwards of 10% for foster placements, which obviously is not sustainable. It also uses quite a lot of individual officer time to respond to individual providers, whereas through this newer DPS, there's a built-in contractual process that addresses annual fee increases, and the money that we will pay to Newham to be part of it helps with the administration of that. So it's less resource intensive on our local authority. So the cost of joining the DPS, for council's reference, for every local authority joins, it funds 0.5% of a contracts officer. So it's really good value for money in terms of our own resources. We only use the DPS when the option of in-house Hackney foster carers isn't available, and the report details how we actually are very good at maximising our insourcing already. We've got really ambitious insourcing targets, and we actually place quite a lot of our children with in-house carers already. When we go to independent fostering agencies is when we need, where the needs of the child are more specialist, or they might require a home, a distance with some kind of specialist support. So independent fostering agencies are a really important part of our sufficiency and our duty as corporate parents. For all of the North Eastern London boroughs, independent fostering agency placements make up about 40% of all of our foster care ranges, so it's quite a significant market share, and they're a very important part of our of us meeting our sufficiency for looked after children. Other points of note for councillors is that there's no financial commitment to use the DPS, even once we sign up to it. So there's not a minimum spend, fair to say, but obviously it's in our interest to make sure we make as many arrangements through this contractual dynamic purchasing system as possible. Also worth noting for councillors is that a number of our other East London local authorities that we work very closely in partnership with, and we're also in partnership with for our children's home project that came to Cabinet a few years ago, are in the process of going through governance this month as well. So that's going to significantly increase our kind of market influence and our market share, and hopefully drive up the quality of those homes for looked after children. London living wage applies equally across all providers. And so there's 27 providers currently listed on the DPS. I know at the time of writing the report, we had actively been using 10 of those fostering agencies. I just want to clarify that out of the 27, we actually already used 25. It just so happens at the point of writing the report, we only had placements with 10 of those. So we will then prioritise approaching those fostering agencies that are on the DPS first to increase the number of children that we've got with those provisions. That's it for me.
Thank you very much. It's very helpful. Any questions or comments from members?
Sorry, I'm not sure if I entirely follow that. So we'll be using 10. I see there's 27 listed under the DPS. Of those, quite a large percentage of the rate of good or outstanding. Are you, sorry, those 10, was there 10 that chimed with those?
So at the time of writing,
or are we now taking work away, if you like, from agencies locally? How does that link up?
In London, there's about 100 or so independent fostering agencies. We have a list, we contact at the moment every single one of those. At the time of writing the report, the 27 providers that were on that are on that new DPS. We have known and are working with about 25 of them. You're only actually two that were new that actually never worked. It just so happened at that moment in time, we only had children placed with 10 of them. It's not that we're not sending them referrals, it just so happens that we didn't have any children with them, but we have worked with them and continue to work with them.
Sorry, just one other. We had the Mockingbird business up here. Is that something that's kind of likely to carry through? It's already. I know this is a separate question in terms of commissioning, but like obviously I want a consistent standard and sort of innovation. I suppose that we've been upholding here that will continue.
Mockingbird and Hackney for in-house provision, 100%. We're continuing. It's now called Hackney Villages. Lots of independent fostering agencies have actually also adopted the Mockingbird model. It's been really successful. As part of this work, with a small group of East London local authorities and a small group of fostering agencies, it gives us that opportunity to explore more innovation and improving quality. So for agencies that maybe haven't heard of Mockingbird or aren't using that, that's definitely a conversation that we're having with them because it's really beneficial for foster carers.
Thank you.
Okay, what do you want about? Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you. Yeah. So while we're talking about those 10, some of them we'll have got the relationship with them when we were spot purchasing from them, and you talk about renegotiation, but that will be obviously advantageous to us, but we can't make them renegotiate, can we? So do we have? Is there a certain amount of summing up and seeing with them, or?
So when we join the DPS, the prices that come under the DPS and the contractual terms and conditions are only applicable for new placements. However, we've done some work before ahead of this. We've spoken to quite a few of our providers who are part of the DPS who have all indicated they are more than willing to renegotiate the original terms that we have as spot purchase agreements to those under the DPS. Our goal will be that we'll try and get as many of those arrangements through that DPS as possible. But you're right, Councillor, we can't make them. And if, for example, we've got a different fee or it's a specialist service that's not covered under the DPS, that's unlikely to be negotiable. But what we will be doing is working together with other local authorities and it's really driving to improve quality. So one of the things that Newark also really shares with Hackney as a massive priority is anti-racist parenting and practice. So we've already started talking about kind of shared training events, trauma-informed practice, working with a small group of people who've said, we want to work with you and really drive up that quality because that's going to result in better outcomes for Hackney children.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Got a couple more.
Yeah, carry on.
Just about the option to extend, because in the top box you describe it as choose the 12 as long, and going into the 8th of March. then there's an option to extend for up to 4 years to 2030. And I always, in my head, Chair, thought that the +1 covered all your extension options, but the maths don't work on this. So should it be 2 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, or
So,
you see what I mean?
yes, I know what you mean.
Sorry.
So again, just to remind you that Hackney did not lead on this procurement. That's why some things that are a little bit kind of odd for us. So the DPS is already currently live. So if we join now, the existing terms of the DPS are up until the 8th of March 2026. Local authorities who join have an annual break clause, which is the +1 + 1, so we can choose to leave at any point should we want to.
Okay.
And then Newham with their procurement team, which I understand for Hackney is a little bit unusual, but that's what they've done and they've had it agreed, has then got another +4 after the 8th of March,
Okay.
which again, we could leave at any point, but it's quite advantageous for us if we have to do another procurement exercise and we carry on kind of growing the service.
So we're joining at the end of the first 2 years.
I have
So
the,
when they describe it as, so I think somewhere in the papers it said it started in 20. I remember right.
it's been live for a year and a bit, or maybe possibly 2 years. I haven't got the exact date, but I know it's in the report.
So we're just right, and then there's an option. Thank you. And I asked you about the negotiation chances. Cheeky final one, Chair. What we were doing before was organised by London Council, and yet it seemed to collapse really quickly.
Yeah.
Which it shouldn't have done, and we should all have known. So, is there a lesson there to make sure that we don't put ourselves in a situation like that again?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think the London councils had been raising concern that London care placements wasn't really kind of being as utilised for the last couple of years, but no one kind of expected it. I think post-COVID was really sort of the kind of final tipping point. What we were doing before with London care placements wasn't an official procurement framework. And over the 6 or 7 years that I've been exactly and we've been using it, what we did see was that lots of providers were dropping off, and people were not very happy because there was no formal way of agreeing fee increases, which means that in one way we kept lots of directors very happy because we kept fees very low, but it was not sustainable for the market. There was no real kind of contract management opportunities. There was no kind of coordination between 32 London boroughs in terms of driving forward priorities. So I think with Newham, us joining this, it's slightly different because it is a dynamic purchasing system. It's a formal contractual arrangement. We'll be having regular meetings with Newham. We already meet as East London commissioners to discuss how things are going. So I think we'll be kind of askew if anything like that happens. Hopefully what we'll see after kind of January this year is the other 3 or 4 local authorities will join, and we'll see a steady increase in the number of local providers that join the DPS. And as long as we listen to the market and work with those providers, as well as driving forward our priorities, I think it will be really successful.
Okay, thanks, Jen.
Thank you very much. You think you've covered most of the questions going to transition anyway, so that's very helpful. But just clarify on the finances.
Yes.
A bit. We're talking both of prices going up because the point you just made there about being held artificially low for the contract process, the last thing, but you're also talking about possibility of a saving. So
yes.
So just unpick that a bit for us.
So I need to be very careful when I'm talking about savings because it's cost avoidance. We're unfortunately overspent in our children placement budget. We're very aware of that. That's a separate issue.
Relative savings. Then,
yes.
Right.
Yeah. So if we did nothing and we didn't do anything, these providers will all come to us and say, we're increasing our prices by 10%, maybe more than those. We have, you know, we can argue out with them, it takes quite a long time, but at the end of the day, sometimes we get given an ultimatum, either you pay this or you move your child. We don't want to go down that route. What we do need to do is respond to the market and be responsible purchasers and responsible kind of local authorities in terms of listening to providers' costs going up, because we also want foster carers to be paid the right amount of money to be looking after those children. That makes placements stable. Those make good homes for children. And the same way that we on an annual basis increase the amount of money that we pay to our foster carers, and the child allowance goes up every year in line with kind of government guidance. I think we need to be quite sensible in how we respond to that. Our responsibilities are also to make sure that we're getting value for money. So I think over time, what it will create is that it will create a very fair and transparent and clear process for providers to ask them evidence when they need increases, rather than providers kind of emailing local authorities on a blanket basis asking, you know, for 10% increases, and then you've got 30 plus local authorities negotiating the same thing with lots of different providers.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments on that? Can we then move to recommendations on 3.1 and 3.2 and agree those?
Agree.
Thank you very much, and thanks for all that
Thank you.
you've obviously put into.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just go back to the minutes. You skip one for this. We agree the minutes of the meeting on board concern. Okay. Can we also just note on the action tracker that I think item 7 there was hanging in the air a bit as to what exactly what we're asking for from the temporary accommodation people and when. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at the screen now. I should be looking at the camera over it. But ask that Mr. Angelori goes away and just clarifies with them, you know, what we can expect in terms of a report back and when. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay, Chair. So basically, as officers said the last time, the bulk of the contract value for the temporary accommodation is cost for rent.
Hang on a minute, Rotimi, I think the sound's a bit low. Try again now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So as I was explaining, Chair, what I was saying is that what officers said when they presented the report is that the bulk of the contract value for temporary accommodation relates to the payment of rent to landlords. So what we could actually get in terms of social value is something we need to negotiate with the providers. So what I intend to do is to have further discussion with officers and report back to members, if that's okay.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Some observation from my colleagues on the committee.
No, very sensible. Thank you.
Great. If you do that, then let's take that forward. The way we're at the moment, I think we've never got to the answer to it. Okay, thank you. So then,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry? Then move to item 8, the provision of leasehold buildings and insurance. And I think Jamie Whitehouse is online to present that. Jamie, welcome.
Hello. Yeah, hello. So my name is Jamie Whitehouse. I am the Senior Insurance Officer for the council, but I'm currently acting up as the Head of Insurance for the next month. Thank you for taking the time to review this, and I am sorry that I can't be there in person. The tube strikes had me spooked. I am here today to present to you the report for the procurement of the leasehold buildings insurance. It has been a really challenging procurement, and it's the 4th time in as many years we've been through a procurement exercise. Supported by our brokers Marsh, we have found ourselves a insurer, and the details of which are outlined in that report. The headlines are that we've got an insurer. There were only 2 bids, and only one of them was actually viable. But like I say, it's a very limited market at the moment, so we're very happy to have that insurer on board. The insurer is the incumbent insurer, a company called Protector. It does come at an increased premium cost of 16.5%. There are no material changes in the policy based on what we've got at the current period and what we will have next year. And then other than that, the report is as presented to you. So I welcome any questions or feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments from the committee? Councillor Kennedy?
I wanted to try and get my head round because you touched on it on page 62 at 5.9, self-insurance.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the possibility of self-insurance. And your report says it would create unmanageable levels of uncertainty and financial risk. But wouldn't it save us a lot of money? So there'd be a huge amount of risk, but also a huge amount of reward. Am I understanding that right?
Well, so, I mean, it's the nature of insurance. You could always try and not have insurance, but if the worst happens and we have a large event, then we're not effectively covered in those situations. So effectively, that is the risk. It's also a case that I don't actually think in relation to what we would be charging, because we would have to recharge leaseholders, and I'm not sure there's capacity to do that. But we would have a situation where the actual premiums are probably going to be somewhere similar. The policy would be underwritten on the same kind of the details, the same basis, and then we don't actually have in place the benefits of the scale that the multinational insurer has to actually manage that insurance policy. So personally, I don't think it would be anywhere near a feasible option. It's not, and it does open us up to a wider element of risk. So yes, we could benefit, but equally we could massively not benefit, and I don't think we want to open ourselves up to that risk.
Thank you.
Okay.
Actually, I should have. That invites another question from everyone. Is there some sort of hybrid option there, where you sort of insure against catastrophic risks, but cover, the normal day-to-day?
Yeah, no. So that's a fair question.
I understand one of the issues with this contract is that there is quite a high claims level on it.
Yes. So to answer the first point, in terms of a hybrid option, one of the things that we looked at was whether the insurance could be included within one of our wider property portfolios, and then done exactly as you say. The issue there is, and that we're insuring it on that catastrophic basis. The issue there is that we need insurers again to be willing to bid on that sort of risk. And in the situation that we had, it wasn't a viable option. There weren't any options available to us. So that didn't turn out to be a viable option at all. In relation to the claims risk, I think what was the question there in relation to the claims?
There's quite a lot of claims. Is that right?
A lot of claims. So we certainly, so yes, we have claims where you would peg them in terms of a lot or a little is, I suppose, subjective. We've kept a relatively steady keel, apart from 1 year where we did have a spike. Our 22-23 period, we did have a few more claims within that period. This year, they do appear to be lower in terms of our claims numbers, but we're midway through the year, and I don't want to preempt anything, touch wood. That could obviously change, especially as we're in the middle of winter. But yes, so claims. So the issue with claims is that yes, we have a number of claims, and yes, in one period we did have more claims, and those claims are in themselves costing more. The rebuild costs are going up. Inflation has obviously had its own effect, and we have one policy period that that was more expensive than the others.
Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that going forward. Any other questions or comments, Mayor Woodley?
Nothing on the core business, just in terms of the social value offer, it seems quite vague and broad and it doesn't seem to be monitored. Like, can we press on that or?
Yeah, so that's a very
£17 million contract, isn't it? So you expect some of it to it.
So it's a very fair question. Social value in the financial lines contracts, I think, are quite tricky to pull out, because any social value offering that they might actually add in there is just going to get recharged and be an additional cost in relation to the, or additional cost for the leaseholders to actually carry. That said, the offering from this insurer Protector, yes, it's relatively, I suppose, vague. They are a multinational insurer. Their offices are based up in Manchester, so they can. It doesn't necessarily commute to Hackney, but they are willing to offer a variety of situations in terms of volunteering days. There's nothing in there that is huge, and actually, in terms of the wider scheme, the social value offering was marked quite low. They do have a statement in relation to their carbon management. But other than that, there really isn't a great deal to say. If we did peg in there any further social value, like I say, we would feel it in the cost of the actual insurance contract. But we will have so we will be having an implementation meeting with them, obviously, as we would in any contract, and we will carry that home and see if there is anything else that we can actually drag out of it.
That's really encouraging. I think we're also a victim here of the issues with the state of the market, basically, aren't we? That we haven't had a great deal of choice.
No, so the market is limited.
Doesn't mean we shouldn't keep pushing as you set out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments from members? So if we could move to the recommendations and agree the award of the self-governance contract set out, right?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. If we can agree to exclude the rest of the public, is there a report? Yeah, okay. As the terms of world set out in agenda.
Agreed.
And then, are there any questions on any exec appendices? No. Okay, no. In that case, if we could agree the exempt meetings, sorry.
Yes.
Agree the exempt minutes of the meeting on the 4th of December.
Agreed.
Okay. I think there being no other business that I'm aware of, we can thank you all very much and conclude the meeting. And the next meeting will be on. Oh, it's like it's like. We've got a whole list of dates. In red. On the 5th of February. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks all.
Thank you.